Twilight Gap. The last city's greatest battle for survival happened here. Many guardians lost their lives trying to hold fortifications only to be overrun. Today we will talk about the battle and where the brave fell, heroes rose, and legends were born. When you walk around the tower, the beauty of it really doesn't show that it is in fact a military installation with guns at the ready. There was an instance where the Fallen decided that they would take the remnants of the Golden Age. The Fallen would set aside their pride and work with each other to claim the last city. The fallen houses of Winter, kings, devils, and wolves would have been an unstoppable force of military might, and that was what they counted on. What they did not anticipate, however, was the loss of Ceres. From the records of the Awoken, The Marade, Book 7, Chapter 10. The transmission was broadcasted on all frequencies, lacking, at the time, the ability to crack fallen encryptions. The Master of Crows, Prince Uldren, could only discern that the fallen houses were all talking to each other. This was a thing that had never happened before. Then the Tetuans looked earthward, and saw the fallen there becoming bolder. Tactics suggested that they were planning a massive attack. We had no interplanetary arrays, no way to warn Earth. We thought we would be able to do nothing but watch. Then the wolves arrived from the Jovians. Their army was hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions strong. A dark wave washed over the reef, rushing towards Earth. As soon as we saw them, it was clear that if the wolves reached Earth, the city would fall. Seemingly oblivious to the Awoken's existence, the bulk of the wolf fleet stopped to regroup at Ceres. The Queen's decision was this: attack the House of Wolves, thereby saving Earth but revealing the reef's presence to any and all enemies in the quadrant, or remain silent, preserving the reef's invisibility but allowing the city to perish. It was here that Queen Marisov said several memorable quotes in her encounter with the House of Wolves Khel, Brixas. The Wolf Khel, practical, brave, tallied the strength of the metal and equipment. The Khel considered the chance that the Awoken have some secret weapon, something gleaned from the hulks of the reef or whispered up by the witches, and set that chance aside. The Khel thought the House of Wolves could win decisively. The Khel sent a challenge and a warning. "I am the Lord of Wolves," the Khel sent. "You are an empty thing with 2 dead souls. This is my house. These are my terms. Surrender and I will only take your ships." The Awoken fleet cut their engines and began to drift. The wolf strike elements, torpedo-armed skiffs hidden under jamming and camouflage, found their firing solutions and prepared to attack. Then the Queen's ship broadcast. Queen Marisov said, "I am noble too, O Lord of Wolves." The Khel didn't mind a little banter before the kill. It would give the wolf ships longer to draw the battle away from Ceres. The Khel replied, "You have no line. You have no power." Pyrrhix's captains, barons, signaled their readiness. Scolus and Pyrrhus and Eryxus, Drevis, Picus, Pyrrhixas, all of them bound by fear and loyalty, all were ready for war. "Starlight was my mother, and my father was the dark," the Queen's ship whispered in an eerie, erratic radio burst. Servitors began to report a strange taste in the void. Here at last, too late, the Khel began to feel fear. "Call on them then," the Khel sent one last mocking signal before death and ruin, "and see what help they offer." So the Queen called, as only she could. Every servitor and every ketch hears it. Every captain and baron roars, and their underlings and their sensors go blind as firing solutions falter, as reactors stutter and power systems hum with induction. Stealth failed. Space warped. The House of Wolves shouts and spikes and war codes, maneuvers wild, fires blind. Behind the Queen's ships, the Harbingers awakened. Her Harbingers ripped into Ceres, destroying the asteroid and killing Pyrrhixus, Khel of the Wolves, and more than half of his house. The remaining wolves scattered, burrowing deep into the belt for cover. There, new claimants to the Khel ship quickly arose. Eryxus Wolf Baroness, Pyrrhixas the Howling, and Scolus the Rabbit. In the end, the Queen's attack on the wolves kept them from joining the Battle of Twilight Gap and sealing the fate of the last city. The Fallen would remember this destruction of Ceres and the splitting up of the forces. The Fallen would call it the Scatter. Undaunted by the House of Wolves' absence, the attack would still commence. The The House of Devils, the scourge of the city, the shadow below our walls, would lead the battle at Twilight Gap. The Fallen swarmed in large numbers, but it was when the Walkers showed up that momentum swung in their favor. Walkers are an immediate and deadly threat, having in the light of countless Guardians. The Fallen do not hesitate to deploy them to provide overwatch of their salvage and extraction crews. Walkers are also commonly used as blocking forces to guard key Fallen assets. Now at the Battle of Twilight Gap, Walkers engaged in a thunderous artillery duel with the city's guns positions. This defensive battery once held the front line against the combined might of the Fallen houses. It was overrun during the course of the invasion. Many Guardians lost their lives to hold the line. This post is now known as Twilight Gap, named for the great battle. Many Guardians fought and met their fate that day. At a desperate battle, Warlocks worked in concert to shatter the enemy line. It was not quite enough. A special cloak known as the Strength of the Pack was a pattern worn by Anna Bray during this fateful battle. It is worth noting that Anna may have been related to Elise Bray, creator of the Aeon Trespass, and Clovis Bray, the scientist. The battle continued as the Fallen pushed to the walls. Saladin Forge led the city's defense during the battle for Twilight Gap. His proteges, Commander Zavala and Lord Shaxx, were also present for the battle. Zavala's brutality was beautiful in the defense of the city. Both Saladin and Zavala held the line. It was Lord Shaxx that went on a counter-offense. This was a bold move since it goes against the logic that has saved the city at the Battle of Six Fronts. Lord Shaxx's counterattack pushed the Fallen from the city walls. To this day, Saladin remains close to Zavala, though his relationship with Shaxx has been strained since the Twilight Gap. It could be speculated that Saladin disagreed with Shaxx's actions at the battle. Though the battle had been won, it was not without great cost and new lessons learned. One of the Osiris cultists, Sister Lupe, had said that though the city won a great battle at Twilight Gap, it had lost an even greater mind, referring to the exile of Osiris shortly after the battle. Twilight Gap had changed things. It highlighted the desperate need for proactive strikes to keep the enemy off balance. Fieselcrux, a gunsmith, wanted to create a tribute to those who fell, a shoulder-mounted rocket system intended to be a gift to Guardians who fought at the battle. Something that would be art as a weapon. He named it Gjallarhorn, after an old Norse myth. It was a horn used by the Norse god Heimdall to warn the city of the gods, Asgard, about an incoming attack. Warriors would answer the call of the Gjallarhorn and stand to defend the city. It would be a fitting name. In his design notes, he wanted the Gjallarhorn to represent honor, pride, glory, and hope, and that these things are not given but earned. Forged from the armor of those that fell, the Gjallarhorn would be a symbol of survival. The weapon would have tracking rockets and special cluster missiles that would also track targets. The munitions would be called the Wolfpack rounds. It would carry the crest of Alpha Lupi and multiple golden wolf heads, one for each day of its creation. Gjallarhorns were given to those lucky Guardians who survived a brush with true death. When you hold a Gjallarhorn to your shoulder, you have placed a wolfpack of departed Guardians by your side. When a Gjallarhorn calls, its wolfpack will answer. Well guys, if you like this type of content, just hit the like button, or leave a comment, or if you just want to see some more, hit that subscribe button. But as always, have a good one.